Today's sermon addresses the following of the UU7 principles. Principle 1, we affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And Principle 2, we affirm and promote justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Today's sermon by Rebecca Hendricks is titled, Love in the Time of COVID-19. Rebecca and Ted have lived in Cambria for 5 years, after 30 years in San Jose, where Ted was a high school art teacher, and she traveled as a corporate consultant and trainer. Rebecca loves taking voice lessons with Jan Callner, singing with Lyra in Cambria Chorale, and playing the handbells. She also spends time knitting, scrapbooking, and making cards. After the service, Rebecca will be available for any questions you might have. Rebecca.
I have always loved to sort and organize things. I started scrapbooking when I was 6 years old, laying out pages with cards, movie stubs, and newspaper articles, gluing them in rows with care, and writing captions with a well-sharpened pencil. From 7th through 12th grade, I kept a gridded chart in my closet with every skirt, dress, blouse, and sweater listed on the left side and every school date across the top. I kept track of when I wore each item and in what combination, though no pants for girls back in those days. I love to categorize yarn, thread, fabric, paper, stickers, almost as much as I enjoy the actual knitting, sewing, and card making. Back in 2007, I realized people actually made a living being professional organizers. I had been an internal human resources professional and then an independent consultant, but both paths had required travel 2 to 4 weeks a month. At that point, Ted and I were exploring a way to get me off the road after 20 years as our daughter entered high school. Working in professional organizing appealed to me, and it wouldn't require travel. So I attended workshops, I joined the National Association of Professional Organizers, created marketing materials, and connected with people who were in the business. I loved my first clients who needed downsizing and organizing assistance. But then the 2007 economy headed straight to the bottom of the ocean, and few folks were willing to pay hourly wages for organizing, no matter what their income or needs. With very little work on the horizon, I heard about a senior relocation company out of Los Angeles that was looking for someone to manage their Bay Area business. I would be an area coordinator and a move manager, working with elderly clients transitioning from their homes to a retirement community. Now, I have to be honest here and say that I have never felt a calling to serve the senior community. As a child, I made weekly visits to small-town nursing homes with my mother. I dutifully behaved when my family visited aged acquaintances, and I held polite conversations with many older people who came to our house for Sunday dinners. But it didn't develop into any interest into working with folks of older generations. So as I dived into my move manager duties, I didn't give this much thought, being grateful for a paying position for which I was well qualified. I look back now and I have deep gratitude for that opportunity during difficult financial times. How I looked forward to that first knock at the door when I would meet someone. How I loved hearing about their family, their treasures, their hopes and fears, and how privileged I felt to be there for them at this pivotal time in their lives. Isn't it interesting how opportunities and choices can really change your life? After 14 months, I realized I wanted to earn more and offer additional services to senior folks moving to a new place. So 3 employees joined me, and kind of a kitchen table cottage industry, we blossomed into a senior relocation company, providing hands-on solutions for moving and organizing, specializing in seniors who had found a senior home or a future home in a retirement community. The activities that we provided were providing assistance for planning, sorting, and downsizing, doing all the coordination with the new location, the movers, any other vendors, packing and unpacking, including artwork, china, crystal, bathrooms, everything with all supplies provided. Resettling all belongings, including arranging furniture, hanging artwork, making beds, and so on. And we would provide every client an extensive guide for donations, antique appraisal, estate liquidation, and so on. Our services were typically offered by the retirement community, which made marketing great. They would receive, say, 40 hours of creating comfort rather than a month of rent or other incentives. Existing residents would often see us working in our aprons and say, "Boy, I sure wish you would have been around when I moved in." In addition, we provided a variety of solutions to anyone: reorganizing residential spaces, creating more efficient spaces in home offices, working with people with hoarding or chronic disorganization issues, and developing fun and useful places for projects and crafts. Services also included garage and house clean-out assistance, online selling, and concierge services. And we loved it. But apart from our skills and efficiency, our most important tools were empathy, active listening, patience, creativity, and love. We created a special relationship with each client at what might be the most challenging time in his or her life. Our work with clients became far more than schedules, boxes, hammers, and extra packages of light bulbs. It was the stories they told about their house, involvement of their friends and families, decisions around what to keep and what to bring, and our holding their hands as they said goodbye and hello over and over during our time together. Setting us apart from other moving services was being a woman-owned company, appreciated by many single female clients. We were, and still might be, the only company that created reusable, washable packing bags and sheets in lieu of pallets of white paper. During the initial visit, furniture was measured, a floor plan was drafted on a magnet board, estimates for boxes, staffing, and supplies were made, and a moving calendar with tasks was shared with the client. We helped them plan for a new living area, choosing a smaller bedroom set, replacing a stereo system with Bose speakers. Back in those days, moving out a 200-pound TV for a flat screen on the wall. We also educated them about their new living environment, where they wouldn't need 20 boxes of seasonal decorations, 3 card tables, 12 folding chairs, and a workshop of tools and equipment. Packing was completed in one day, during which the client could enjoy time with friends or family and return to a move-prepared home with essentials left for their last night. I would meet the movers bright and early on moving day, again allowing our clients to have a day of freedom before meeting us at the facility mid-afternoon for furniture placement. My move day challenges included packing up potted plants, TVs, fridge and freezers, and transporting the occasional oxygen tank or family pet. Upon arrival at the new community, our movers would empty their truck and my staff would gear up to magically unpack and resettle belongings by the end of the afternoon. Bookshelves, curio cabinets, pantries, and closets would be recreated as closely as possible to their former home. We took pictures as we packed. So if Frances stored her tea bags by the microwave and mug stand, that's where they would be in her new kitchen. We like to say that the resident would come home from dinner where lamps were lit, the bed was made, food was in the fridge, art was on the wall. All they had to do was go to bed. It was with great happiness and pride that we would see people walk into their new home and burst into tears. They had no idea that we could create a place in which they immediately felt at home. Of course, my favorite part of the job was spending time with wonderful people, all the stories to tell and the concerns to share. Some of my clients were quite noteworthy. Gordy Soltow, a former 49ers football player, Charlie Towns, who was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics for the maser and the laser, and Maggie G, one of the first two Chinese women to serve in WASP, Women Air Force Service Pilots, in World War II. She talked about the dangers of training male pilots who would shoot real bullets at her plane over the skies of Oklahoma, and then her pride at meeting President Obama when he honored the surviving WASPs at the White House. I loved sussing out how each person felt about the upcoming move, if family connections were helping or hindering, what they weren't telling me, and what personal approach would be a good fit as we moved forward. I prided myself on honesty. For example, on moving day, they were usually told by their family, "Don't worry, today will go fine. Just relax, it'll be fun. It won't be bad at all." I would assess their anxiety and be willing to say, "This might be a terrible day, and I will be there with you." And I can practically guarantee that if today is awful, tomorrow will be a little better, and the next day will be a little better, and so on. So let's get through this together. It is a major life event to move from a home to a retirement community or home care facility, full of anxiety, fears, logistics, and financial concerns. Currently, these facilities are at the center of the pandemic maelstrom, and when COVID-19 is reasonably under control, there will be a return to folks considering a move, albeit uneasily. Some of the questions in many minds are the following, and they overarch what I'll be talking about this morning. What are residents, families, and facility staff doing to cope during these precarious times? How do you decide whether to leave a family member in a long-term situation or to bring them home? What will be important in the future when evaluating a potential retirement residence? And what other choices are out there? The COVID numbers focus primarily on assisted living, skilled nursing, memory care, hospice, and rehab facilities, although independent living residences certainly have increased risks, especially if these provide continuing care services. I have friends who live at Rogue Valley Manor in Medford, Oregon, and they write about sheltering in place in their cottage with meals delivered, no access to on-site activities, with management regular reporting on what actions are being taken to reduce the risk of being exposed to the virus. So what are residents, family, and staff doing during the current crisis? I love hearing about the creative activities in care facilities, hallway bingo, balcony exercises, distribution of electronic tablets to allow all residents to communicate with friends and family, delivery of puzzles, craft projects, and books, not to mention, they probably all need Andy, lessons on Zoom and Skype for church services, lectures, concerts, and other activities. Management and staff are also gravely concerned, as you well know, about having appropriate equipment and ensuring that the illness statistics of their community are included in official numbers. Then comes the second question. Since few people are moving into retirement facilities these days, a current quandary is, should I take my mom or dad out of their care home? This is a question that frightened Canadians with parents in long-term care homes and assisted living facilities are losing sleep over for good reason. The following comments come from an article by Al Donato in Ottawa, Canada. Quote, "We are well aware that the elderly population is among the most vulnerable for developing serious and deadly coronavirus complications. As of April 14th, almost half the deaths in Canada happened in long-term care homes." So how do you make such a difficult decision? Some families can provide supervision, activities, and in-home care to meet a senior's care needs, but removal isn't an option for many families. In many households, cramped spaces make physical distancing of self-isolation impossible. Many accessibility needs like mobility devices or assisted technology may not be available at home either. Families may have children at home who could be asymptomatic carriers or families may be financially strapped because of pandemic-related job loss. Whether a family member stays or is discharged, there are risks taken with either decision. Worrying about the care and safety of an absent family member without being able to visit, or sacrificing time and energy to care for someone at home. Obviously, a major impairment for families is not to feel guilty. Seniors go into long-term care because they weren't able to safely and happily be taken care of otherwise. A pandemic doesn't make that any easier. This next slide is, I know, difficult to read. It is a superb one page of a 6-page questionnaire containing the common pros and cons for should I bring someone in a long-term home care situation home, or should I leave them there? It asks questions about the senior's care needs and how well COVID-19 can be prevented wherever they stay. This page gives you an idea of just one of 6 sets of inquiries for consideration. There's no right or wrong answer to any of the questions posed. Instead of a scoring system, the tools guide families to assess their own abilities to provide care. I've done some looking, even checked with my sister, the public health professional, and I didn't find anything like this, although I'm sure it exists in entities in America. One of the advantages, of course, of national health care is these things can be countrywide and very, very available to people. And I found this a wonderful walkthrough that would allow families the ability to have these questions to answer and then try to make the best decision possible. Very impressive. So how will seniors and their families make decisions in the post-world of COVID-19? There will always be family members requiring long-term care, respite or post-surgical rehab, and others ready to move into an independent living community. And this will be during ongoing concerns about the continuation and/or return of the virus. Currently, there are a myriad of companies who provide referrals and resources to help you locate a place for someone to live. You've probably seen advertisements for A Place for Mom, Senior Seasons. Those kinds of companies are focused on locating a residence that is safe, appropriate, and affordable for an inquiring individual. But now, in addition to asking about food, one of the most important considerations I might tell you, activities, field trips, local transportation, apartment layout, location amenities, and other considerations, it will be very important to ask in detail about safety protocols regarding highly contagious situations. So what will be important in the future when evaluating a retirement residence? Some of them listed are isolation facilities, written safety protocols that should be available to residents and their families, cleaning and sanitizing procedures in living quarters and common areas, availability and enforcement of personal protective equipment for staff and residents, readmission policy should a resident leave during the health crisis and later choose to return, overall rate of staff turnover, ratio of staff to residents, and policy for hazard pay during emergency situations. Vaccination requirements for incoming residents, staff, and visitors as recommended. Current financial stability of the residence itself, looking at the profit or not-for-profit status, also the status of their current foundation or endowment monies, and detailed plans for responding to a COVID-like crisis, food management, security, visitation limitations, alternate recreational activities, and so on. So we know quite a bit about retirement communities, and I know probably more than the average bear, but what other choices are out there? A 2019 study conducted by AARP found that 9 of 10 older Americans preferred to live in their homes as long as possible. Aging in place allows seniors to do just that. remodeling or refitting your home to suit senior-specific issues such as decreased mobility or impaired eyesight. Think improved lighting, a walk-in shower, wider doorways, ramps, grab bars, or a first floor bedroom. This retrofitting is also called universal design, meaning building or remodeling to accommodate all ages and abilities. And there are companies providing home health care and home care professionals for seniors who wish to age in place in their own home. Visiting Angels, Bright Star, there are many others you might hear advertised about on the media. However, an alternative to traditional aging in place is the village community model. It combines aging in place with the type of interdependent living that helps make aging alone for longer possible. It's an innovative do-it-yourself take on what life in traditional American villages used to offer: trusted relationships with neighbors and the wider community. A nonprofit grassroots solution that's governed by its members, villages have become the way of life for thousands of urban and suburban seniors across the United States, designed to provide social connections and practical assistance. The village concept began in Boston's Beacon Hill neighborhood in 2001. As more villages formed, the Village to Village Network was founded in 2010 to help communities establish new villages and manage them, and to grow the village movement overall. So the village community model, simply stated, is that members help each other, service providers provide additional help, and social events keep all connected. A village is first and foremost a community that relies on the passion, talents, and expertise of the people in it. In the model, older members of a neighborhood or a group of neighborhoods are linked with one another and with a network of volunteer and paid services. The members help each other. If you're sick, other villagers will visit and bring you what you need, and vice versa. Service providers contribute additional help. Need to see a doctor? A volunteer driver will take you. When your sink clogs, the village will send a trusted repair person who services all the village members. And social events keep you all connected. There are now over 300 villages in the US, and each is governed by a board of directors made up of members. Members pay dues for paid staff, often a single coordinator, who aim to meet all the villagers' needs by sourcing, screening, and delivering services: home maintenance and repairs, technology help, health and wellness services, transportation, light housekeeping, and shopping assistance. We don't know what the post-pandemic world will look like, just as we can't foretell what our own world of health and abilities will be down the road. But there are innovative ideas and choices out there to think about. Just as my 3 partners and I found a marvelous niche market in creating comfort, there will be even more businesses focused on senior living in this new world of pandemic reality. And at its best, it will require empathy, kindness, and love, ensuring that seniors receive the safety, respect, and care that they deserve.
Thank you, Rebecca. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Very interesting. Thank you. Normally, at this time, we receive offerings from our congregants. However, due to the virtual format of this service, we invite you to make your offering in one of the methods shown on the slideshow.